the mini lesson on Poetic Sounds. Poetry is music. And here's just a quick overview. And you can see we have some types of rhyming, rhyme scheme, end rhyme, approximate rhyme, internal rhyme. And then I deal with all these other sounds: onomatopoeia, alliteration, consonants, assonance, the refrain, and repetition, and what effect those might have on a poem. So let's start off with the rhyme. Very basic. We did this as children. We played rhyming games. We learned nursery rhymes. It's the repetition of a sound of a stressed syllable and any syllable that follows. And why? Well, it enhances the music of a poem. It creates expectation, because when we get into the rhythm of a rhyme, we're waiting for that next line. And how is the author going to cleverly end the rhyme? And it allows us and creates this expectation that makes us want to read on. But I also like to bring up that's easy to remember, and this is probably in some ways where it came from. We have to think that before things were written down, stories were passed on from generation to generation by oral tradition. Oral tradition is the way many of our original stories and epics were told. And by making them rhyme, it made it easier to remember. So some basic examples we have over here are nails and whales, and that's obviously a one-syllable rhyme, and cereal and material, aerial, a three-syllable rhyme. You can hear it in both of them. Rhyme scheme. It's a regular pattern of rhyme. And so here you're going to see a pattern, and you're going to see that roses are red, violets are blue, when in my bed I sleep sans shoe. And the pattern is the ed sound and the blue, or is the ooh sound, and blue and shoe. Now, this written out as a rhyme scheme, we do this with letters. And right by red, we would write A. And right by blue, we would put B, because it's a different sound. But bed is the same as red, and so it would be A, B, A, B, because shoe is like blue. So again, that's A, B, A, B. And during class, I actually wrote it out on the board and graphed it out so you could see. Okay. Rhyme scheme. End rhyme. This is probably what we're most familiar, and when we talk about rhyme, this is really what we mean. It's when the last word in a line rhymes. And here's the example. Don't kiss your honey when your nose is runny. You might think it's funny, but it's not. And honey, funny, and runny are all examples of end rhyme. Approximate rhyme. Now, a lot of people have problems with approximate rhyme because they say, it's words that do not rhyme exactly. So they don't have that exact chiming sound. So why did the author use it? Why didn't the author just think of other words that actually rhymes? And I understand that point of view, but it is something that we accept in literature, and we call it a rhyme. It's either called approximate rhyme or slant rhyme. And they are often similar, and they still do work. So, for example, hollow and mellow both has the L and the O and the W sound there. Leaves and lives, and there the consonants are all the same. The L, the V, and the S. The consonant sounds are the same, but it's just the vowel, the E and the I, that change. And the same thing with birds and bards. So that's approximate rhyme. Internal rhyme. This is rhyme inside a line, not at the end of a line. I distinctly remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. And here we have remember, December, and ember. That ember sound is in all of them. And it's actually, the word ember is also in all of them. But within the line, when you hear that a familiar sound, a rhyming sound within the line, it's internal rhyme, which makes a lot of sense. Onomatopoeia, fitting the sound of the word to the sense of the word. So basically, when a word sounds like what it is. And an example is bang or sizzles. Another great one is clap. There's the clap, and it sort of sounds like what it is. Or whip. And that's my poor, pardon me, impression of a whip sounding, but it's still the word whip has that sense of what a whip does in it. And now a lot of people, when I do this, they question me on egg. Come on, Mr. Chesnoff, Captain Chesnoff. Egg. Egg? That's not onomatopoeia. And I put it in there because it's sort of a little bit of a joke. And the joke is, if you ever go up to a chicken, you go right up to it real close, just as it's laying the egg, as the egg is coming out of the chicken. If you listen closely, you'll hear the chicken go, egg. And that's onomatopoeia for you. So little joke helps us to remember what it is. Alliteration. Peter Piper picked a pickled pepper. And again, you can see the P at the beginning of each word here, almost. That P sound is repeated. And it's important that you remember that consonant sound is the initial sound in a line. And so that's what we call alliteration. Peter Piper picked a pickled pepper. And very often tongue twisters use alliteration. For example, Betty bought a bit of butter, but said she, this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So Betty bought a bit of better butter, and now her bitter batter is a bit better. Thank you. Many years of theatrical training to learn that last one there. And yet it's a wonderful example of alliteration. Consonants. So this is very similar to alliteration, and it's the repetition of a consonant sound, but it doesn't have to be at the beginning of the word. It can be anywhere. So if you look at this example, high school girls with clear skin smile. And so school, skin, and smile, the S sound is at the beginning. And if you just dealt with, skin and smile, you'd say, oh, that's alliteration. But because we are dealing with the whole line, and you have the S sound again at the end of girls, you say, oh, that's consonants, because look, the high school girls, that S sound is throughout the words, and we call it again consonants. So if consonants deals with the consonant sounds, then assonance is the repetition of the vowel sounds. And in this line we see that I have a new we that keeps me busy, and anyone can see that I'm addicted to thee. And it's the E sound, okay, in we, busy, see, and thee. And that's assonance. The refrain. The refrain is the repetition of a line or a phrase in regular intervals. And if you think about music and songs, there are sections where there are lyrics and then a chorus comes in, and that chorus is repeated throughout the songs, even though the lyrics in between change. And that's what a refrain essentially is. It's that repetition of either a line or a phrase, and it has to come throughout the piece. So in class, we played Bob Marley's Redemption Song, and this is what we identified as the refrain. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever had. Redemption song. Redemption song. Okay, and if you search for that song and you listen to that song, you'll find that in fact is the chorus. Repetition, and this is just repeating a word or a phrase. The only changes that are going on with me. And very simple, very straightforward. Going on is repeated, and it creates a certain effect. And very often repetition is used to drive a point home as well. And if we just go back to that refrain over here, redemption song is repeated, and that drives that is the name of the song. It drives that point home. Okay, and here it's used a little bit differently, but both are considered repetition. Both work real well. And this concludes